Hello everyone and welcome back to today's episode of the Daily HUD, your daily source for all things esports and gaming. I am in fact Sierra.
And I'm in fact Dom. Now before we get started, we're still looking for your highlights and bloopers, so share those with us down in the link below in the doobly-doo. That's going to be info@esportschannel.com. And of course you can check out our Twitch channel where we will be streaming
and playing games.
We're streaming right now as far as we know. Twitch.tv/esports_channel where we will be streaming and playing games and putting out some new content over the course of the next few weeks. But turning our attention towards esports, we're talking about the completed Starcraft 2 GSL Super Tournament, recapping the PUBG Face It Global Summit, talking about the CSGO Dreamhack in Rio de Janeiro before taking a look at Dota 2's ESL One in Mumbai, finally taking a look at the Madden 2019 Last Chance Qualifiers.
From there, we're looking at last night's Rainbow Six League results from North America, recapping the Counter-Strike's ESL Pro League in up to Group C in Europe and North America. Looking at Week 2 of the NBA 2K League, for the last of our esports coverage, we're taking on some upcoming events in the Fortnite World Cup and the recently announced creative competition. Then later, we'll talk about the Madden Bowl, plus some sneak peeks at the IEM Sidney 2019 ESL One in Birmingham and the next Dreamhack Masters in Dallas.
From there, we're turning our attention towards gaming in general, where we're looking at the new discless Xbox One, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Nintendo Game Boy, talking about the release of Mortal Kombat 11 and some of its aspirations to become a full-on competitive fighting game, looking at StreetFighter V's competition, before finally, once again returning towards Ubisoft and their efforts to help the Notre Dame in its restoration.
Starting things off, the Starcraft 2 GSL Super Tournament saw its conclusion this past weekend. Very fun and exciting.
Yeah.
Intended as a fun 4-day tournament, 16 of the best StarCraft 2 players stacked up in one entertaining tournament. That is, if you're a fan of Protoss. Of the 16 players, 9 were Protoss and the other 2 were Terrans and the 5 Zergs. After the first round of play, however, the Zergs and one of the 2 Terrans had been eliminated, leaving a Protoss-shaped hole in the standings. Champion Maru of the prior weekend's GSL Code S was eliminated early against Stats, so eyes turned to Code S runner-up in Classic, and he delivered in a big way by soaring through the standings to advance to the grand finals.
Yeah, now this series, though somewhat similar to last week's Maru versus Classic in a Protoss versus Terran matchup, saw a lot of late game clashes as opposed to Classic's early aggression against Maru. Now, with Game 1 going to Classic in a huge 21-minute match, Game 2 was relatively quick, comparatively, with a 20-minute win towards Classic again, as his Protoss mech came out superior to Gumiho, the other finalist's own Terran mech strategy. Now, Gumiho found himself pressed by Classic's comfort in the late game, so down 2 games, Gumiho opened Game 3 with an aggressive push, timed around Marines with upgrades and a handful of tanks. But Classic, hot off of his grand finals just a week prior, found an excellent adept Stalker Blink to dash in and remove the backbone of Gumiho's threat. With Gumiho's tanks gone, Gumiho committed to the all-in, pulling his SCVs cross-map for the Hail Mary takedown, but Classic was able to hold the line and advance to match point at 3-0.
Game 4, like our earlier matches in this series, went the distance with a spectacular 21-minute clash of battlecruisers and Thors versus Classic's Tempest and Carriers. And though Classic had built correctly, Gumiho found a spectacular battlecruiser warp to cut off Classic's retreat, forcing him to stand his ground until his army was wiped out. Ultimately, Classic couldn't recover and tapped out of Game 4. With Gumiho finally on the board, Classic realized it was time to stop toying with his food and went on the offensive with a 10-minute timing in all and swiftly bowled over Gumiho's defenses, causing GG to claim the first place victory.
Yeah, big congratulations to Classic. He didn't win the GSL Code S finals, but he was able to climb through and pretty effectively smash through the Super Tournament. So still showing some pretty effective play despite perhaps being near the end of his career. But again, this is all speculation. We don't know whether or not he's actually going to end his career. Hopefully we'll get the chance to see some more compelling games from him. But now let's turn our attention towards PUBG. The Face It Global Summit occurred over this weekend, and it reached a very high impact and very high energy conclusion. The tournament featured 24 teams from all across the globe fighting for their cut of $400,000. Now split across 3 groups, the top 8 from the initial 24 advanced to the grand finals, with the remaining 16 going to the elimination round, and then the top 8 of that second half getting a second chance by qualifying to the grand finals with those initial top 8. From there, the remaining 16 teams played 12 rounds, and it was an all-out brawl.
At the end of the grand finals, it was Team OP Gaming Rangers who walked away with the lion's share. Congratulations, 101 total points. Just behind them was Team Shoot to Kill, who flew out of the group stage in such a big way at 97 points. And in third place, Team Liquid tied with OGN Entis Force at 86 points apiece, and Team Liquid winning the points tiebreaker. Of note, OP Gaming, Shoot to Kill, and Team Liquid were all very close in kills at 58 and 59 kill points, but it was OP Gaming's Rangers' consistent high place points that gave them the advantage they needed to secure that first place prize. Big kudos to the Armory Gaming in 5th place at 61 kill points for the standout series of games, though as we all remember, it's consistency that wins tournaments in battle royales.
Yeah, so big win to OP Gaming Rangers, another congratulations. But turning towards our next shooting game, CSGO, the Dreamhack Rio de Janeiro, took place this weekend in
Brazil?
Rio de Janeiro, you're right on. Now here the competitors were looking for their cut of $100,000, and the competition was fierce. While generally a smaller scale tournament, it is still considered a major, we still saw some compelling matches, with Furia Esports and Avant-Garde finding themselves in the grand finals. Hilariously, though the two teams started out both in Group A, because of the double elimination in groups format, Furia, who dropped their first game, was strong enough to climb out of that initial deficit to claim a spot in the playoffs alongside Avant-Garde. Though they were on opposite sides of the bracket, the best of 3 went the distance, but ultimately it was Avant-Garde who closed out the series win, taking $50,000 richer in their pockets.
Fantastic go Rio de Janeiro. You got to meet some of those guys, right?
Yeah, when we were to Blast Pro in Miami a short while ago, we got to meet a handful of players. Furia and Avant-Garde were not there.
Oh, unfortunately.
But we did see Team Liquid, FaZe, MIBR, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. Oh, it's too early in the morning to remember that
sorry
last
about
name.
that. But
all those other
it was great to meet our fellow friends from Brazil, and maybe we should have a vacation.
The
go check
MIBR.
out Rio de Janeiro.
We can go talk to
Play
Zeus a
some
little bit
gaming.
more. That could be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Our final completed event of the weekend saw DOTA 2 ESL One in Mumbai. Featuring 8 teams, this weekend's tournament featured a group stage that had some stellar action the whole way through, with Team and Keen Gaming as the powerhouses to emerge from their groups, and Navi's and Mineski taking the second upper bracket spots off the decider matches.
Yeah, where Keen Gaming had looked so dominant in groups, advancing without dropping a single game, once they entered the playoff stages, they were swiftly knocked down to lowers in a 2-1 series by Navi into that lower bracket. Now, after another brush with death against the Pango, Keen Gaming flew through the lower bracket, going 2-0 against TNC Predator and Navi to advance to the grand finals to match up against Mineski. Mineski, on the other hand, struggled to clear out of the group stages to advance to the upper bracket, but once on top, they stayed there, defeating the, up until that point, undefeated Team in a 2-0 match, before bringing down Navi, who had just defeated Keen Gaming. In the grand finals, however, it was Keen Gaming, coming up from the lower bracket, who kept their fighting spirit the longest, taking a swift 3-0 series and heading home with a bonus $135,000 in their pockets.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, that covers the events that wrapped up this weekend. Let's take a look at some of the tournaments that haven't quite reached their conclusions just yet.
Yeah.
And they're still ongoing. So first, let's look at yesterday's evening's Rainbow Six Siege North America results.
Yesterday saw the final week of North American play, and the last week already saw the 2 spots to Milan get locked down. Both Evil Geniuses and Dark Zero have already secured their tickets to Milan for that next level of Rainbow Six Siege competition. And though they both played yesterday, it seemed as if Dark Zero was the team that was most taking this final lap seriously. Accelerate.gg challenged and defeated Evil Geniuses 7-5, though EG have already again locked down that spot, advancing to the next level of competition. Afterwards, Rise Nation took on Dark Zero, and Dark Zero proved why they're the #1 team in the standings, taking the series win at 7-5. And finally, in our last match of the regular season, Reciprocity brought their A game to Space Station, taking a 7-2 series overall. Now, up next, we're taking a look at the complete groups A, B, and C of CSGO's Pro League, which resumes with the beginning of Group D later today. First up, let's start with Group B in North America, in which Team Liquid has advanced to the finals, alongside Ghost Gaming and Complexity Gaming moving on to round 2, with Lazarus Esports, by their 0-3 results, being eliminated. In Group C, Luminosity Gaming is advancing, with MIBR and Cloud9 moving on to round 2, and Team Envy facing elimination. Team Liquid and Luminosity will be joining Energy Esports in those grand finals, and by the end of the 25th, we'll have our final advancee from the Latin American group. Of course, our other teams in round 2 will get another chance to compete for those final 2 spots, so again, not all hope is lost just yet.
In Europe, FaZe Clan is advancing on the finals, with teams Heroic and Devils.1 moving on to round 2 of Group B, with Ninjas and Pajamas eliminated. Of Group C, G2 Esports is advancing, with Navi and Fnatic moving on to round 2, and Windigo Gaming eliminated. Group D also started later today, with longtime favorites Astralis finally getting a chance to show off
if Astralis can recover from their blast from Miami.
Thank you so much.
Now, moving on, we're going to take a look at the NBA 2K League that wrapped up its second week on the 19th. Now, as it stands, Pacers Gaming are currently tied with Mavs Gaming for first place, both at 3 wins and 0 losses apiece. From there, it's Net SGC and the 76ers GC who round out their 100% win rate on the bracket with 2-1 wins apiece. Now, Bucks Gaming are securely in 5th at 3 wins and 1 loss, before 4 more teams are all competing for that final spot, tied for that middle of the pack. Again, though, we're currently just about to get into week 3 of 12, so there's still a lot of progress that we're hoping to see with this NBA 2K bracket, but we'll be keeping tabs on any important happenings or shifts on this esport over the remainder of the regular season.
Our final ongoing event was the close of the Madden 2019 Last Chance Qualifier. While the qualifiers have wrapped up this past weekend, they decided the final 2 players for the upcoming Madden 2019 Bowl. Our final 2 players are Some Serious 92 and NFL 6th Sense. Some Serious had a strong showing, defeating his opponent in a 20-10 score overall, but in our second matchup, we saw a thrilling comeback in which 6th Sense started down his first half at 17-6, but somehow found the strength to go even further beyond, finishing his second half with a win at 30 and 20 points. Even more exciting was the fact that some of you watching traditional television, who watches regular TV anymore?
I mean, a couple old folks maybe.
Might have seen some of these games as they were broadcast on ESPN2 on Sunday. Of course, these qualifiers are just the setup for the Madden Bowl, set to take place on April 25th and running through April 27th in Redwood City, California. The 16 players there, including our 2 last qualifiers, will fight for a cut of the $200,000 prize pool.
Yeah, that covers all of the events that have just wrapped up and are still ongoing. We've still got some tournaments that are coming up, including that Madden Bowl that we just talked about, and some new Fortnite competition that was announced a few days ago as well.
Right, so in about 8 weeks, we should all be looking forward to that Fortnite World Cup competition.
Yeah.
And they will be opening up the field for creative players.
Yeah.
So what's called a creative mode, where you are basically running through an obstacle course. It's for someone who maybe isn't as into the Battle Royale format. And so this is great. I really think it's awesome that they're opening up the field to more diverse players.
Yeah. Again, this is a $3 million prize pool for anybody who doesn't want to compete in that Battle Royale mode to still get a chance to try their hands at the World Cup in New York. Again, that's still a couple of weeks down the line. I believe, as far as we know, there are going to be a handful of challenges over the course of those next few weeks.
Okay.
But again, keep your eyes tuned to the Epic Games website for more information if you aren't into that Battle Royale mode so much.
The all-inclusive Fortnite, once again.
Exactly. They're trying to cover every single game genre. And speaking of a game that covers multiple genres, or more importantly, multiple regions, CSGO is also going to be having some new events coming up over the course of May. We've got IEM Sidney starting on May 3rd for some very, very high-level CSGO major action. And then later we'll also be seeing Dreamhack Masters at Dallas. Seems like a lot of teams are going to Dallas in terms of these really big events. So still lots and lots of CSGO competition coming up. Plus we've got the ESL Pro League, which is still wrapping up. Blast Pro has just announced their next venue as well. So CSGO has been kicking off non-stop. And then finally, Dota 2, we've got ESL One, which has just confirmed their next location in Birmingham. Not Birmingham, Alabama, I don't think. I reckon it's probably Birmingham, London? Or I suppose
that would make
UK.
more sense, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably Birmingham, London. No, not London, I did it again. United Kingdom.
UK.
Yes.
Birmingham, UK.
Because if there was like a city inside of the city of London, I think maybe that would be a little... Because London itself isn't the city for the islands, as much as we like to think about the UK in that way. But again, those are all tournaments that are still coming up. And again, later this week, we've got the Madden Bowl, so still plenty of tournaments to keep your eyes on for those big conclusions. And again, all those ongoing tournaments still continuing as well. But now we get to turn our attention towards regular old-fashioned gaming news outside.
Happy 30th birthday!
Yeah, right on. The Nintendo Game Boy celebrated its 30th birthday just a few days ago. Now you can pick your gaming news website of choice, Kotaku, Polygon, PC Gamer. They've all got these really long, in-depth articles about the history of the Game Boy. Here's the long and short of it. 1989, April 21st, Nintendo put out the Game Boy. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the fastest, was the cheapest. In addition to that, you didn't need to carry around like a large battery pack or a converter. You could just chuck in some AA batteries. I remember I had one of those chunky boys way, way back in the day, and carry it around with you, and lo and behold, they got the market share. Right. And that's the granddaddy of mobile gaming.
Opening it up, making it accessible to people,
Exactly.
and now they're celebrating their 30th birthday with Xbox leading the charge.
Well, yeah, there's certainly the Xbox on the way. I mean, for now, Nintendo is following that trend of mobile consoles. They finally stopped doing Game Boys, and it seems like the Nintendo's DS has scaled back a little bit as well, and they're putting all their efforts in the Nintendo Switch, which is a blend between that original handheld console and the Game Boys and Nintendo DS's of lore.
Right, I've seen those before.
Yeah. So we're still seeing some very, very compelling stuff from Nintendo. I've got a Switch. It is so much fun to play, and the fact that you could just like pull it out on an airplane and play Skyrim or Super Smash, and it has local Wi-Fi. So I had Mario Kart once when I was flying, and I realized that somebody else came online on the plane. No idea who, no idea where, and we raced for like a good hour against each other. And you could do like emotes, and we were emoting at each other and having conversations and laughing while everyone else was asleep in the back of the plane.
That's fun.
So yeah, the 30th anniversary for the Nintendo Game Boy, the great granddaddy of mobile gaming. Do you play games on your phone?
You know what? I don't actually.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Game Boy is the reason that we see that nowadays. The
With the
idea. It didn't create Snake, but the Game Boy really popularized in Western culture the idea of taking gaming on the go.
With you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everywhere you go. No, it's great. Really accessible gaming, Game Boys. I think I had a Game Boy at one time.
Yeah, way back in the day. Oh, you had the Game
that
Boy.
was really fun.
What was it, the SP?
It was like my little computer.
That one was called? Yeah. Gosh, there was the Game Boy, the Advance. No, the Game Boy Color, the Advance, the SP, and the Micro throughout all of the generations.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And then don't even get me started on the accessories, the Game Boy camera, and you had to have the cable to be able to connect to other people, and staying up late at night at sleepovers trading Pokemon to make sure we had completed our collections, except for, damn it, Eric, finish the game so that I can get those legendary birds from you. Way, way, way back. But still, that was a long, long time ago. And in other news, you mentioned it just a moment ago, Xbox is still making announcements as well. Maybe not celebrating its 30th anniversary, but the new Xbox One diskless edition has been announced as of a few days ago.
Right, leading the charge in the diskless mobile gaming.
Well, trying to. The Xbox is your standard console. That's going to be the one that we've got right over there on that TV, but it doesn't have a disk drive. So traditionally, games were done on cartridges or discs or, no, I'm pretty sure that was just about it, cartridges and discs. Only recently, with the advent of very powerful internet, have we gotten to truly digital gaming, where you go online to a marketplace, buy and download the game. With the new Xbox One, it doesn't have a CD drive, it doesn't have a Blu-ray drive, it has USB ports, but even those USB ports do not support external CD or DVD or Blu-ray drives. So the entire idea of the console is completely digital. No more discs, no more cases, no more cartridges. It's just one single thing that you plug in and set up and it works. And you go to the Xbox One store and you download and you buy your games and you buy your movies and all of that, and they are downloaded locally over the internet. So if you don't have internet or you don't have Wi-Fi, this probably isn't going to mean much for you, but it's 2019.
Well, what would the quality be of that game compared to having it on a disc or even watching a movie? I mean, Blu-ray is incredible quality. Does that change? Is that been affected?
So not at this time.
Okay.
Currently, the quality of data comes down to the processing power of the console.
Okay.
You can acquire that data through any means, through the CD, the DVD. I don't know why I keep saying CD. CDs have been outdated since the early 2000s.
I still got my Britney Spears.
Yeah. I actually went for a drive with a friend a while ago, and she still has a CD player with like 8 CDs stacked up because her radio doesn't work, but her CD player works. And I was like,
the quality of sound is good.
Yeah,
it's
we can get
better.
you an MP3 converter so you can connect your phone. And she was like, no.
No, it affects the quality.
Spotify is for at home, but while driving, it's just these 7 CDs
for life.
For 10 years, the same CDs.
Oh yeah, I got a couple CDs. Fleetwood Mac is in there.
Yeah.
Never going anywhere.
But looking back at that Xbox, as long as you can get the data, it doesn't matter. It comes down to the processing power of the console. And the Xbox One S, I believe it is sort of the second generation. It's not the super powerful 4K version, but it is a $249 console. So that's the big draw. If you already have good internet and you haven't played Xbox games yet, you don't have an Xbox One, this could be your time because it is nice and cheap. It's also probably the last Xbox One we're going to see of this generation. We're not going to see an Xbox One S Slim or Pro or small or anything like that, because Sony did just announce they're working on the PS5, and Microsoft ain't no slouches. They're probably working on the Xbox 2 at this point,
Changing
Xbox 1.5. Because it was the Xbox, then it was the Xbox 360, and then they said, you know what, we missed a number in there, the Xbox One. So now we're wondering what that next generation console is going to be and what those capabilities are going to be as well. Because the PlayStation 5, we don't know if that's the name of it yet, is quoting SSD, it's quoting ray tracing, it's quoting 8K. Microsoft is a computer company primarily. What have they been working on under the covers with that next console? We don't know. So if you haven't yet gotten an Xbox, the Xbox One S diskless edition,
hop on board.
Yeah, this could be your chance to get in and finally play some of those console exclusives. Haven't played Halo? What's wrong with you? Get the Master Chief Collection and play it.
Well, that'll be really fun, I think, having the ability to access the internet because of the consistent game changes that we see in Fortnite and we see in other games. But I'm also wondering about the consistency for those competitive players. Will it be better to be working on kind of the same game over and over, building up your skills, to having something that's always changing every time you log in?
I think that's sort of a larger meta discussion about whether or not skill sets having adaptability in your skill set to one particular game is often a choice of that particular game. For example, Super Smash Melee came out in the early 2000s. There ain't been a single patch for that game.
I love that game.
In nearly 20 years.
Exactly, that's why I love it.
Yeah.
Just keep the same.
And despite that, we've still seen meta changes. We've still seen characters rise and fall in strength and power. But then you take a game like League of Legends, which is now going on its 10-year anniversary, in which it changes every other week. They put out a new patch. And sometimes the patches are small, and sometimes the patches completely change the way that you play the game. So
you're a huge fan. I mean, you love that.
I mean,
you love
am I wearing the shirt right now? No.
You usually are, definitely.
It can be a little tiring over time, but it's a question of whether or not what appeals to you as a gamer. Do you like being at the forefront? Do you like constantly trying new things and trying to keep ahead of the curve to be that one step ahead of everybody else?
Right.
Or do you just want to learn something and be done with it and focus on that tacit knowledge, something that is learned over time through exposure as opposed to study?
We'll stay on top of everything, be ahead of the curve, and get that new Xbox.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
In other news, Mortal Kombat 11 has just been released, and it is unavailable in Japan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a little too gory for the Japan, which is an interesting choice based on the fact that we have a lot of players located in Japan, and why aren't they accessing that market?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question for NetherRealm Studios, and it's something that game developers have had to deal with for a long time. In China, you cannot show skeletons. So video games that feature skeletons or bones in any way has to create a second version of the game in which those characters are different, in which those models are different. World of Warcraft is a huge example. So it makes sense from a developer standpoint to not create that second version and hope that your game gets through censorship. But Mortal Kombat 11, trying to become the next big fighting game esport, trying to challenge top dog StreetFighter 5, doesn't have a censored version. There have been no announcements for a censored version. They've just mentioned that the game itself is coming out, and Japan has put a ban on it. We do know that Japan has one of the largest fighting game communities in the world, and suddenly NetherRealm Studios has to wonder, well, do we start development on another version now, or do we hope that Japan lets up?
Maybe they have one in their back pocket. Maybe they've got a second version.
They just haven't announced it yet. They could very well be holding out for a week, like, oh no, our game is too violent. Just kidding. Here's a non-violent version to pull players in that way.
But I mean, that's something I appreciate. For all, I don't think people need to be censored, but these fighting games can be pretty gory, and kids are playing them, and you know.
Well, hopefully kids aren't playing Mortal Kombat.
But they could.
They very well could. Yeah, that's why we do have rating systems to try to come down to prepare you for what the game brings, because inevitably you're going to have someone who buys and downloads the game and doesn't know what they're getting into. Mortal Kombat is very, very over the top. I mean, at the minimum, you're going to see some blood, you're going to see some gore. I think one of my favorite fatalities that I saw was, oh geez, there are so many to choose from. I forget his name.
Beheaded?
Oh, that's the bare minimum.
That's easy.
So what's his face with the sombrero hat? Throws it and it spins in midair and these blades come out, and then he takes the person and kicks them and they fly back into the blades and voom, get cut apart. That's the soft version. There's a lot more going on in that. So yes, it is a very adult game in nature by that gore and by that violence. But we do have to wonder, NetherRealm, they very clearly decided to go with this over the top style. Maybe they have stymied themselves by cutting out their Japanese market just a little bit.
And the Mortal Kombat 11 is going for $60.
Yes, it is a full price game right now.
Full price.
It's day of release. There aren't any sales that we know of, though that would be great just to save a few bucks here. Yes, and as a result, some of their competition is trying to take advantage of that.
So Street Fighter 5 is also releasing their game for 2 weeks for free $99.
Yes.
So if you have not yet played Street Fighter 5 and you don't quite have enough to invest in that next game, why not try it out for free, right?
Yeah. And it's a really clever move from Capcom to try to take advantage of this because, hey, your competition is putting out a brand new game. It's expected to be one of the next big esports. Let's just slide right under the bar, right underneath them, and release our own game for free for 2 weeks. Now, this isn't the first time Capcom has done this. The game has been free before in the past for small periods of time, usually weekends, every once in a while, a week here and there. But the day that Mortal Kombat goes live, today is Tuesday, which means 2 days ago, they started releasing the game for free for 2 weeks just before that. And they know that the game isn't available in Japan, and we know that Street Fighter 5 is huge in Japan.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe they're rubbing their noses in it.
Very clever Capcom, trying to take advantage of that market share.
Excellent.
Yes. But hey, if you've only got $30 and you need a week or two to save up for Mortal Kombat 11 and you're looking forward to it, Street Fighter 5 totally free to play right now. It's a chance to test it out, and of course, once the game stops being free to play, I believe the base game is only $19.99 or maybe $29.99. It's not the cost of the full game, but then once you start to get the DLC characters and different costumes, if you end up getting into the deep game, that can start to rack up over time. Whereas Mortal Kombat 11, as far as we know, is just one full release game.
I see.
Though we are expecting DLC characters later, because NetherRealm did the same thing with Injustice 2, with Injustice 1, I want to say, way back in the day.
So get your hands on that Street Fighter 5 and have fun and
if you don't have the capacity for Mortal Kombat 11.
Right.
Yes.
In other news, access to some free games is now available through Assassin's Creed. This is in an effort to create more awareness about our beloved Notre Dame, which burned down last Monday. Ubisoft has donated $500,000 to the restoration project and has also made their game free to allow people who enjoyed the Notre Dame to be able to access it, since it is now kind of mostly destroyed.
Inaccessible.
Inaccessible
For the time being. I don't think fully destroyed is quite there yet. But hopefully, again, it'll be many years before it gets back to the point where the public can enter it. Or maybe they'll do it in stages where you can enter the foyer, and then you can enter sort of the main area, and then so on to explore the rest of the church. But,
and fortunately for us, they were in a restoration process, so a lot of art was removed and, in fact, salvaged.
Yeah, but if you do want to see how beautiful the Notre Dame was pre-Cataclysm, pre this terrible event, you can now download Assassin's Creed Unity for free from the Ubisoft store and get a chance to actually tour the inside of it yourself in-game. And of course, you've got the rest of the game itself, in which you can explore a very lifelike recreation of Paris, France during the, what's the one, the 1860s? What's the French Revolution? Hey, that's it. Just have to use my words to get there. During the French Revolution, and experience that very, very cool storyline. So again, big props to Ubisoft for taking this very pro-art step. They've always been a historically accurate, at least attempted to be a historically accurate game company. I mean, Secret Templars and Assassin Guilds aside, the cities are all very lifelike. Their narratives try to be very true to life. Once you take out the aliens as well, that we try to forget about that storyline.
And the gargoyles climbing the side of the building.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, what an incredible effort for Ubisoft in the beginning to take the time to create a game that was incredibly accurate. I mean, we were down to the bricks.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The placement, the lead.
How fortunate for us.
There was a lead artist on the Notre Dame itself who agonized for years over the placement of every single detail and worked through paintings over time to make sure that everything was placed correctly. So it is a very accurate representation in game, and we highly recommend that you take a look at it on Assassin's Creed Unity. Again, now free. Big props to Ubisoft. We don't know how long it's going to be free though, so maybe just go to the store, get that license on your account. And make sure that you have it.
You can thank the Esports channel for tuning you in on some free games that you have available out there. Get after it.
But that's going to do it for us for our announcements for today.
Yes. Thank you very much. This has been the Daily HUD.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. I'm Sierra.
I am Dom, and on behalf of myself and everyone else here at the Esports channel, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night, and GG.
GG.
Nice.
Nice.